trusted news source, ABC6 News at Noon.
And a good afternoon to you, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today for ABC6 News at Noon. I'm Casey Cantz. Many of us looking out the window today at rain as we come on the air with you this noon time. But take a look up north. Plenty of snow on the ground already. It's a video out of Worcester today. Salt trucks being loaded to treat the roads as flakes fly. That snow is headed our way slowly but surely as we look live outside here, our studios in Providence right now, ABC6 Skycam HD. And you see what we're getting. We are getting a lot of rain. Like right now, Skyler this morning had some rain as well. That's pretty much been what it has been here in Providence, right? But it depends on where you live, what you're getting today.
Exactly. I mean, the big thing is the temperature profile in the atmosphere. We're just not cold enough at the surface to see what they were seeing up north. So let's take a look at the map really quick and just show over the last couple hours. We can see where the snow is coming down Worcester. And you know what? Yeah, they were getting some really good accumulation. However, that rain snow line setting up, everyone south just getting rain of that. So, you know what, they got a little lucky. We, however, have not been so lucky. I don't know, I guess it depends on how you want to look at that, right? So if we go ahead and view in on the storm tracker radar, you can kind of really see this snow rain line setting up. So it's slowly inching its way towards Providence. I think later on today we're going to get a little more of something. We'll get a shot of some snow that'll come in for a couple hours and some sleet mixing in with that as we get into the evening hours. So it could make the late afternoon and evening commute a little tricky, especially if you're coming from the north heading south. So let's look at some of the rainfall totals out of this system. So we've had some pretty impressive rainfalls out of this. We're looking at 3 inches in Coventry. TF Green reporting 2.39 inches. So we were having like 2.5 inches and up to 3 inches of rain around the area. Charleston at about 2.5 inches. South Kingston 2 3/4. And then West Warwick taking the winning total so far. This is a 24-hour total. So they came in at 3 inches and 15. So that's impressive for a 24-hour total. But outside right now, Providence showing 39 degrees. Winds are out of the southeast at 6 miles an hour. So we've got this moment, this little bit of a lull as that low pressure system is passing over. So those winds are going to start to kick up here later on. And then we're going to get the backlash of those winds as we get later on in today. So let's look at the temperatures really quick. We're still not cold. Cold air is much to the north of us. That's going to be coming down as this low pressure system starts to move. It's pretty much right over Rhode Island right now. So what we're looking at, dry slot of air that's moved up into the area, and we're making way for this colder air to infiltrate and just move into the area. So I'm going to have more details on the timing, what these temperatures are going to look like going into the evening hours, and these wind gusts here in just a moment.
Yeah, you mentioned, Skyler, how tricky this storm is. Evidence in your rainfall totals. Evidence, though, in other parts. What we see here, this is new video new out of Leominster, Mass, showing snow-covered neighborhoods there. Look at the roads. Quite treacherous, no question about it. Again, depending on where you are today, some rain, some snow. We do have team coverage out in the elements this afternoon with the northwesternmost parts of Rhode Island expecting to see the most snow. ABC6 News reporter Daniel Coates joining us live in Foster today, where we expect that line of snow to cross into Rhode Island first. Dan, good afternoon. What's it look like for you?
Well, good afternoon, Casey. Certainly not dealing with any of the snow that we are expecting. You can see still a little bit of drizzle here in Foster, and I'm at the town's DPW center, where if you look behind me, you can see about a half a dozen trucks and plows that are all at the ready, according to the DPW's director that I talked to today. Coming up, we can expect during this nor'easter up to 6 inches and at times around 30 miles per hour. The DPW director that I spoke to today told me that you really need to be careful if you are going to get on the road, especially here in Foster, where about 40% of the roads are dirt roads, back roads, and areas where they have a really hard time getting to. They also are warning people about downed limbs, downed trees, especially with the mild weather that we've gotten this winter and the trees that will have to deal with some heavy precipitation.
We didn't have a hard frost in the area this winter. We got cold twice, but they only lasted about a week on the ground. There's not a frost in the ground, and this rain is saturating the roots. And then if we have some heavy wet snow and a little bit of wind, we could have some trees going down because they're not anchored in with the frost holding them in the ground.
And Casey, we're expecting that snow to begin soon here. Again, we're still dealing with a little bit of drizzle, not as windy as once we got here earlier this morning here in Foster, but we're going to be here all day. Stick with us at 4, 5, and 6 for more on what the DPW is doing to get ready for this nor'easter, as well as what residents are doing to prepare. For now in Foster, I'm Daniel Coates, ABC6 News.
All right, Dan, thank you. Dan in northern Rhode Island today. That's what it's looking like there. What's it look down on the coast, though, where those winds could have a bigger impact as we go along today? ABC6 News reporter Yanni Tregellis has us covered from there. Continuing our team coverage today, live from Narragansett. Yanni?
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten any snow down here in Narragansett yet, so figured we might as well get into the water, go for a little bit of a swim as we wait for this storm to come. A little break in the rain right now. We have had some rain whipping through the area this morning, bringing some really strong winds. I mean, just take a look here behind me. You can see the waves just absolutely whipping around over by the Coast Guard house. They have been crashing into that wall, going over it into the road throughout the morning. This is just about the calmest I'd say it's been all morning, and you can still see these waves coming up here on Narragansett Beach. When that snow does come again, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be wet, as Dan was talking about, as you saw up in the northern counties. A little bit quieter still here down in Narragansett today. Mostly rain again, some breaks in that rain throughout the morning. But we figured, why not just pop down onto the beach, get in some water, enjoy it while we can. It's been a warm morning, but when that wind does hit, it's been strong, and it has been pretty high gusts that really, they knock you over. They bring those waves in up onto the beach area. And when that wind, when that snow does come, and mix with that wind, could spell a lot of trouble for the people down here by the coast. But again, for now, still awaiting that snow to actually hit down here in this area. So we'll throw it back to you back in the studio. We're live in Narragansett. Yanni Tregellis, ABC6 News.
Water-resistant boots today, Yanni. A brave soul you are. Thank you for that. The Rhode Island DMV, meantime, reminds you that all road tests are canceled today and tomorrow morning because of the storm. If your road test is canceled, the DMV says a staff member will contact you to reschedule within 3 business days. All road tests are canceled in Massachusetts today as well. Providence is opening warning centers ahead of today's storm. 4 shelters will increase capacity for anyone who doesn't have a place to stay. The shelters are Crossroads RI on Broad Street, Providence Rescue Mission on Cranston Street, Emmanuel House on Public Street, and the Cranston Street Armory. Our latest forecast is up on our website, abc6.com. Make sure you stick with us for your latest school closing updates as well. Just go to the weather tab and then hit closings and delays. Other headlines today, new details on that overnight shooting in New Bedford we first told you about on Good Morning Providence. Investigators saying the 29-year-old victim in that shooting has died. Police responded at Dunbar Street just before 11 o'clock last night. That's where they found the victim, Derek Pyers, of Fall River, sitting in the driver's seat of a black Dodge Charger suffering from a gunshot wound. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died. He was the sole occupant in the car. State and local police are continuing their investigation. More still to come today at noon, including more fallout from the Silicon Valley bank collapse. President Biden reassuring Americans today there's no need for panic. We'll have the very latest on that. And later, flooding, wind damage, and potential power outages. It's not just here either. How about in California with the West Coast getting whacked with severe weather yet again? We'll check in there just ahead. Back today with some consumer news. President Biden and the nation's financial regulators are reassuring Americans that the U.S. banking system is strong, despite consecutive collapses of 2 regional banks. Now, attention turns to the Federal Reserve and if it will raise interest rates again to cool inflation. ABC's Justin Finch with more today from Washington.
A mixed report on inflation revealed in the latest Consumer Price Index numbers. The index measuring how much Americans pay for goods and services, finding inflation dropping from 6.4% in January to 6% last month. That number, though still high, is in line with expectations as the Federal Reserve aims for 2% inflation with its aggressive interest rate hikes. Though some leading economists say the Fed could pause those hikes following the failure of 2 regional banks.
This is, I think, about as good of an outcome as we could have hoped for.
Long lines again outside of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank branches Monday. Account holders finally able to access their money. The U.S. Treasury, Federal Reserve, and FDIC acting quickly to guarantee that deposits in those failed banks will be paid back in full, even those over the federally insured $250,000. The president saying banks will cover the costs.
No losses will be borne by the taxpayers.
The fallout jarring Wall Street, regional bank stocks diving on fears SVB's problems could spread.
It's going to take at least a week for us to disseminate through all of the other regional banks and try to ascertain or figure out, are there other banks that have similar issues?
Even some of the nation's biggest banks, which are held to a higher standard, trade it lower.
The too big to fail banks got the heaviest hand of regulation, so they had to have more capital on hand. They had to take a stress test every year.
And all eyes on Wall Street will be on banks again today, with analysts watching to see if regional banks see a bounce after that big sell-off on Monday. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
And there is more still to come today at noon, including that nor'easter. It is no longer impending. It is officially underway. Skylar Spindler coming back with a full check of the conditions out there right now and what the timeline is for the rest of the day ahead. Stay with us. Back talking more about that extreme weather on both coasts. Of course, the nor'easter hitting us here on the East Coast. And another atmospheric river slamming the West Coast. ABC's Rena Roy with the latest now.
Coast to coast, millions of people bracing for dangerous weather. At least 26 states under weather alerts, parts of California facing yet another atmospheric river, one the National Weather Service is calling a direct threat to life and property. A rare high-risk warning for flash flooding from Ventura County to Santa Barbara and north to Big Sur. The Los Angeles County Fire Department rescuing 6 people that were trapped on a riverbed, multiple helicopters used to pull victims to safety. Rescuers searching through the night. The Salinas River overflowing and flooding agricultural fields. In Monterey County, nearly 2,000 people evacuated when a levee failed in the last storm. Residents may not be able to return for weeks, some not able to make it out in time. Across the country on the East Coast, some states getting slammed with a nor'easter. ABC's Trevor Alt in Boston.
This storm is really just getting going here, but it's certainly already unpleasant. They're getting ready to get all of this salt deployed on the roads here as soon as this converts into snow.
Heavy snow expected from New York to Maine, 2 feet possible in some higher elevation areas. High winds also a concern.
30, 40, 50 mile per hour winds that could impact flights from New York City to Boston, anywhere that you see kind of in that pink and blue.
And just to give you an idea of how widespread this extreme weather is, more than 90 million people are on alerts for flash flooding, heavy rain, snow, and damaging winds. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
We have definitely seen our fair share of rain here locally. Let's look outside. Yawgoo Valley ski area. Something's coming down, just trying to freeze to the camera right now. So that's some good news for the ski slopes, so they don't have to make any more snow. But let's look at the satellite and radar over the last couple hours. You can really see how this low pressure system has really starting to turn. So you can kind of see that rain snow line setting up. We do have some dry air that's really starting to move in. So some of you guys are catching that quick little drying as we get into this lunch hour, but that's going to change a little bit later. We're going to get the back end of this as this starts to really move around. So here's that snow rain line setup. It's finally moved south of the Mass Turnpike, finally starting to work its way into Rhode Island. So if you are up in the, say, the northwest corner of Rhode Island, that's where you're going to be picking up some snow right now. That's going to continue to work its way across the area. How far does it go? Well, that's a good question right now. So right now what we're seeing is that will be changing over later on this afternoon and into the evening hours. So temperatures now currently we're sitting right about 40 degrees. So Providence showing 40 degrees, Smithfield at 40 degrees. New Bedford at 42. So all along the coast, a few of us a little bit further south, 38 degrees in Newport. So you can kind of see how this air is starting to work its way around. So we do have that wrapping of that northerly air that's going to start to move in. So it's a little calm right now. And then now it's going to kick in here in the next couple hours. Future wind gusts as we get into later on today. Not too bad around the 2-3 o'clock time. More on the Cape towards the coast. You're going to see those 40 and 50 mile hour gusts. But as we get into later tonight, overnight, we'll see our heaviest come in the overnight hours. And then by the time we get up tomorrow morning and head out the door, still a little gusty, 25 and 30 mile hour winds. And then that will finally start to push out as we get into tomorrow. So the future cast, let's really take a look at these temperatures because this is so important on who's getting snow. As long as we can hit that 32 degree mark, that freezing line, that's where we can see the snow. So we do have snow in the atmosphere. The snow is making it down, but as it gets closer to the ground, we're just not getting the snow in places like Providence and all along, the coastal area. So that's why we're still calling for like a chance of snow around the area. You can kind of see that rain snow line setting up. We'll probably expect some sleet as we get into the evening hours. So we're going to have a little bit more of a wintry mess as it starts to get dark. So sun starts to go down, the temperatures cool a little bit. You can see that northerly flow of that air coming in. If it comes in just a little bit faster, these temperatures will drop just another degree or two. And that's going to give us that setup tonight just to have a couple hours of some snow moving in. The thing with this system, we're on the back side of it, so we're going to get some dry air that's going to move into it, and it's already starting to creep into it, so it's eating up some of that extra moisture in the atmosphere. So that is literally just overtaking what's going on. So this is why Providence and places like that are not seeing any of the snow. So we do, as we run through the temperature profile, we hit about 32 degrees at 5,000 feet, so we're still freezing, but once we get to the surface, it's roughly about 32, 34 degrees. Snow forecast totals. Here's what one of the models is projecting: less than an inch for Providence. And you see, as you get into higher elevations, just a couple of inches. So depending on where you're located at this evening and through tomorrow, and this is obviously taking you out into Thursday, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the snow totals that the models are projecting from here on out. So let's look at the 7-day forecast. So we will change to snow later in today. Tomorrow, still windy. The precipitation does taper off. Then by Thursday, better skies, drier conditions, 46. A little shot of showers on Friday, and then a nicer forecast to end off the weekend.
We will certainly need that, won't we, Skylar? Thank you for that. Still to come today on ABC6 News at noon. It is Tuesday, which means we introduce you to our latest pet up for adoption from the RISPCA. Tara Lynn will introduce us next.
Pick of the Litter on ABC6 is brought to you by Pet Supplies Plus.
It's Tuesday, so you know what that means. It's Pick of the Litter. I am here with Megan, and we are greeted by a very fun furry friend down here, Jay Gatsby. Can you tell me about Jay, Megan?
Yep, so this is Jay Gatsby. He is a 7-month-old male bun that we've had in our care since January. So we pretty much always have rabbits available for adoption. He's currently being housed here at the Rumford Pet Center in East Providence. They're great community partners for us. They house a number of our small animals.
Jay loves to play, chew on his toys, and explore his surroundings. He also loves his papaya treats. This energetic bunny is ready for his new, loving home. If you are interested and would like to adopt Jay, please contact the RISPCA at 408-438-8150.
Thanks, Tara Lynn and Megan and Jay Gatsby. Still to come today on ABC6 News at noon. Got to get one final check of that forecast. Skylar will do that next.
Yeah, now we're looking at the snow forecast. This one's kind of measly. Just want to show you guys what some of these snow forecast maps are showing. About an inch around Providence for the whole duration of this event. You can see a little bit north of Providence, that darker blue. That's about a 6-inch snow, so you can kind of see the gradient here. I'm going to have to say that this is pretty close on that. Let's look at the 7-day forecast. We will be changing over to snow again. Sorry, guys, it's going to be a weak nor'easter for us. But we do have the heavy winds with it, so those winds will stick with us. Precipitation tapers off. Keep the winds around tomorrow. Thursday, we clear out. Looks a lot nicer. And then some showers Friday night, but rounding off the rest of this forecast with some sunshine.
And we've got you covered throughout this entire storm. Keep up to date with us online. And the news continues first at 4. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.